Hey guys and gals, it's me George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and it's Monday and I'm working on rafters or trusses. Actually these are going to be rafters, not true trusses. And if you look up there carefully, you can see I have one in place already, and I have 2x4 ceiling joist right next to it. And I'm going to show you how I lay out my rafters. And maybe it'll help somebody, maybe not. The first thing I do is I determine the pitch that I'm going to use, and on this building I'm using a 4 and 12. So I have a framing square here, and I have a set of rafter buttons or stair buttons. They're used for, well, they're used to screw on to your rafter square, and you can use them for rafters or stair stringers or other things as well. And because I've determined to use a 4 and 12, the way I have it set up is I line it up so that my 4-inch mark lines up right with the edge of my rafter, and then you come down here and my 12-inch mark lines up with the edge of the rafter. And that gives me my proper angle for a 4 and 12. That means it rises 4 inches for every 12 inches that it runs. And we have an 8-foot wide building here. And you take half of 8, and that's 4. And so 4 times 4 is what? 16 inches. For every 12 inches across, it rises 4 inches up. So theoretically, right dead in the middle, I will have 16 inches from the bottom rail of my ceiling joist to the peak. Although you have to take into consideration that we're also adding the width of our rafter here. Anyway, that's the principle. I'll show you how I'm going to lay it out. So how I determine what my rafter looks like when it's done. Now I want you to notice something. I made a mistake on my first one. It's not supposed to have a double notch there. And what I ended up doing was I went to the wrong end of my line when I was making my cut. So we're going to avoid that error, and you're going to avoid it if you pay attention to what I did wrong. And here's what we do. We take our rafter square, and the first thing we do, getting our points up tight against our rafter, is make our first cut. And then we make a pencil mark right here. And at this intersect point, which is 12 inches, we slide our rafter square down and line this up again, and we make another mark. And each time we're doing that, we're going 12 inches. So I slide it down to that point, and I come down here. And the same thing here. I'm going to line this up. Of course, I have my cutout already. Line my 4 inches up with my pencil mark right there. See, on that side, you can see it. And then I have my mark over here. Now, I also need to go down one more time like this, so I know exactly where the outside of my wall is. This is the outside of my wall here. So from this point here to the bottom of my peak on the rafter will be a run of 4 feet. Now I want it to sit down over the wall so that hooks over it and helps to tie it together. And so I figure out how wide is my wall. I have 2x4 wall, 3.5 inches. Plus on this building we have 1/2 inch thick siding, so this is a 4-inch wide cutout. And I use my square, so everything lines up plumb and square. I have 4 inches there. There's 12 and there's 16. That gives me 4 inches. And that tells me that this point here will line up with the inside of my wall. And this will hook down over my siding. And then I determine how much of an overhang I want. And sometimes that is determined by the width of your fascia board. And you'll see that demonstrated later when we start putting the fascia board on. I'm using 1x6, and I have cut it so that I have enough for my 1x6 to hang down below whatever I use for a soffit here. And this is cut off square with my fascia. That's clear as mud, isn't it? You'll understand better when I put it up on the building.